Welcome back to another episode of Out of Home Insider, the loudest voice in out of home. Today's episode is with Raf Chang. He's the CEO of Tiger Party, one of the leading platforms for marquees in Times Square. And if you've ever seen a digital billboard in Times Square, you've probably seen the work of Tiger Party. They work with the likes of Infinity, Toys R Us in Times Square, Bank of America, CTM Media Group, World Bank Group. They work with some of the top brands in the world, pulling off those big, beautiful marquees in Times Square that you know and love. So we're going to find out about how they all come to be, how those incredible Times Square takeovers actually happen. And we're going to learn a lot about screens and a lot about Times Square. This has been a really fun episode. So without further ado, let's go.
Welcome, everybody, to the Out of Home Insider Show, a podcast like no other, hosted by the one and only Tim Rowe. Get ready to have some knowledge dropped on you and to be entertained, because nothing's more valuable than food for your brain. So sit back, relax, we're about to dive in as the best industry podcast is about to begin.
Raf, thanks so much for being here. Tiger Party, we want to hear all about it. We had a super cool conversation about LED screens, and I feel like we spent 15 minutes just talking about LED screens. And that's something that I want to get into today, because as we see more media owners wanting to convert sometimes static units to digital, or we see more the emergence of LED trucks and just so many LED formats, I'd love to get into that today. But Raf, a good place to start is usually with how you got into this crazy game called Out of Home. So welcome to the show. Tell us how you made it here.
Well, I mean, initially, I wasn't in this space. Of course, nobody was born into this space, but I was more in museum. So when I first start my job, I start in the exhibition showroom, like museum. They want to have an interactive component to it. They want to have like different control system, like sound, lighting, mechanical things, and that's fit my background. My background is mechatronic and computer science. That's my background. So that's how I started. I started from all those interactive different component in the museum, and then start there. And one day, one of my friends came over and say, "Hey, in Times Square, they are building one of the billboard, which is, not only is not regular shape, but it's also curving, and not just one curve, but 9 different curving and assembling into
9 curves
into, and then assembling into a giant screen. And you're right, all the 9 curves need to assemble in the picture perfectly and need to be able to dynamically adjust the content to fit that different 9 curve based on the camera angle, which means if the camera is in the front of the 9 curve, so all the content need to be able to align seamlessly in front of the camera. But if the camera is on the side, now the content need to dynamically adjust it based on where the camera go dynamically with 9 different curving shape. And all of this need to be live.
Well, when you make it sound that easy.
Yeah, so it is.
What was the occasion? Why do we come up with such crazy ideas?
Well, that was, I don't know. Actually, I need to ask the designer from ABC. That's how they design their LED, outdoor LED.
Because it's real easy on paper. It's easy when you draw it in a sketchbook.
Well,
and then you ask someone to go build it.
Well, because everybody wants to have a different one, they want to look different. Yeah, they want to look unique. And so they come out with this really advanced or crazy design where they have a 9 different ribbon, each ribbon have different angle or degree of curving and different length. But then when you have content you want to put on, firstly, all of your content need to be sliced into 9 different zone or session. And then when they play back, and they need to play back in sync, and then need to be able to adjust warping based on the camera angle. So this is back to 2007.
Right. So, we were setting up cool exhibitions in museums.
Yes.
And then you've got a great friend who's just like, hey, want to get involved in this crazy project with me?
Yes. Well, because of my background in museum. And so when we did something, I think right now people are more familiar with is with those 360 camera. You can see a lot of
sure. And like home
angle.
Tours or
Yeah, exactly. So you need to basically warp it to make it like 16:9 or like to be a flat 2D. So it's a little bit like that for those night ribbon content. So night ribbon content, you need to warp it. So imagine that if you put your nose into the mirror, right? Your nose could be like change the swab, you might be changing the shape and like changing the curving. So imagine the curving shape is the mirror. Now you put your video content into it, it's going to warp, it's going to distort. So the way to adjust that, to correct that, is you change your nose into a different direction. So when you against that mirror, you're going to adjust the back. So then now you're going to look right. Otherwise, if you put your content into the curving shape, your content's going to distort it and everything's going to look so weird and you will not be able to align it. So the only way to do it is you dynamically adjust that before you put on the screen. So again, we're talking about 60 frames per second, and which means you need to do all this in 1/60 of seconds and try to get all this warping done and adjust on the fly. Because when you render the video out, you're not able to render 9 different versions and depending on different cameras. So all of this need to be dynamically adjusted through the program, the playback system that we create, and to be able to do that. Again, nobody was doing the crazy thing back then, and that's how I get into this industry.
Well, that's a pretty natural transition. So you dive right into the deep end of building these crazy billboards. Was it from a hardware standpoint? Was it from the CMS? Like where did you ultimately start navigating into this?
So it's a both. So it's both hardware and software, because back to 2007, the software wasn't that powerful enough to be able to do those warping dynamically. You definitely need to work with the LED manufacturer and then to try to figure out a different spec and then work out to create those LED module and ultimately to be installed on the billboard. And then in 2016, we do another rebrand the whole thing, and we upgrade the resolution and we changed we up on the fresh rate, all of that. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. And like I mentioned, the content that we put on there with 30 seconds of content is usually about 25 gig, if not more, because we're dealing with uncompressed data. We're dealing with uncompressed quality of the content. So each pixel is never like blurry or try to be the same with around each of the pixel.
And Raf, just for context, 25 gigs in the world of like digital billboards, break that down, give that some scale for somebody that's maybe not familiar. Like,
okay.
What does that translate to?
So if you use your iPhone to take a 4K video, say for 1 minute, I would say it's probably 200 megabyte, maybe.
Okay. So a 1 minute 4K video on my phone is like a really, really insignificant amount of data.
Yeah, I mean, it's 200 to 300 megabytes. It's really depending on what kind of setting you have on your phone, but that's the range.
Data storage, I guess, is
yes, it depends on your range, your compression.
I swear I work at a tech startup too. So please don't be embarrassed.
No, but I mean, we're working on the native raw content in terms of creative content, and we work with a lot of compression codec that usually people don't do. Like a lot of people use H.264. A lot of people use H.265, but we use ProRes. I mean, it doesn't mean that we can't use H.264, H.265. They are great compression, and they are light, they are small.
What's the difference? Like, what is the difference fundamentally between these
things?
Like, would I see the difference? Naked eye? Okay.
If you put on side by side, you'll be able to see it.
And what's the difference that you would see? Is it contrast? Is it the clarity? What would you see?
If you do H.264 and H.265 on side by side, HD65 will provide more sharper image, and you will have less pixelated. And HD64, you're going to find in some frame and some content, you're going to say, oh, that's a little bit artifact. It's like right now you can see on my hand, right? That's the artifact I'm talking about.
So like the difference between like 720p and 1080 in the consumer sense of like you're going to see a difference.
You're going to see a difference when you put it on side by side.
Got it.
But if you put the ProRes next to H265, you're going to see the color depth is different, which means you're going to see the colors more alive, more natural, and more real. And contrast, all that is totally different.
So that would be maybe 4K for our home television analogy here, right? So 720, like it was good at the time, but then when we got 1080, we were like, oh, this is clearly better than that.
You can't go back. It's when you have a side-by-side comparison, you can't go back. And it's a little bit different from Full HD, 720, 1080, or 4K, because then we're talking about the number of the pixel in the content. But if we talk about compression, we're talking about, yes, we can use those kind of sense, like how much data is embedded inside each of the pixel. The amount of data in the
pixel. That's a really powerful, no, really, that's a powerful way to think about it. Because when you get down to that very, that very micro level of what a pixel is, it's just a little square.
Yes.
And data being in that, right? All of those values that give it color and depth and that liveliness that you described. Correct. It's a very tangible way to think of it. It's almost like it becomes an organism.
It is in
a way.
For example, I know I'm probably go too deep on the technology in here, but usually for pixel, you can have a 4 different bit into it. Let's say 4 different byte into it. That's RGB and transparent layer. So RGB, that's
I think most people know RGB.
Yeah, most people know RGB, but they actually don't know there's another one inside that's transparent.
Okay.
So basically, for H264, H65, I could be wrong on H265, but I believe they removed the transparent completely. So basically, you can't do transparent on H264 and H265. So you only can control the RGB in there. And when they try to compress the content, they do in a way that you can never restore to the original quality of the content. So they basically compress,
like burning a DVD.
Yes, a little bit.
I'm a simple guy, Raf. I just got to use simple analogies.
Let me give you an example on JPEG. Okay? Let me give you a simple on JPEG. So says you have a 3x3 array of pixel, right? Okay. So totally 9
3 × 3. Got it.
9. 3 × 3.
9 square pixels.
Correct. So 9 square pixel in here. So the way the compression work is, in order to save the bandwidth or save the weight, all this 9 pixel, I will pick the center one. So the center one is black. Then I'm going to treat the entire 9 pixel as a black.
Oh.
And I'm going to get rid of everything and say, hey, since the center one is black, I'm going to treat whatever surrounding is all black.
It's like that game. Did you ever play that game Minesweeper on the computer?
Oh, yeah.
You click it and then you go, it's kind of like that. And you're just clicking the middle one, and whatever color we click on that middle one, that whole 9 square pixel surface black. Is that color.
So exactly. So immediately you reduce the data amount by 9 times. So that's like the way of JPEG work. So the same thing as the codec, which is, you simplify. So, this pixel and the next pixel and the next to it, just, all of them, they're so close together and human eyes can't tell different. I'm just going to call them all black or all blue or green. But the way we do it, it's basically uncompressed. So each pixel has its own color. Why are we doing this? Why do we need to do this? It's the reason is very obvious, because we have a really large pixel. The outdoor LED is huge. It's very
sure.
Yeah. So
how big is that? How big is an outdoor LED pixel?
So most of the LED pixel in Times Square, the outdoor one, each pixel, it's about it's usually PA or P10. So PA or P10, this means 8 millimeter. So P10 is basically 10 millimeter. 10 millimeter is 1 centimeter. So that's basically, that is how big is a pixel on the LED outside. So this is how big the pixel is on each of the a pixel in the LED outside. So yeah, it's going to be visible. So if you using the low quality of the compression, imagine all the 8 pixel around this one. It's all
like the size color. Of a dime.
A size of our finger, yes.
Right.
Size of our finger.
Yeah. So, or maybe like a watch battery.
Yeah. The
size of a watch battery, and it's just hundreds of thousands. Or how many of these are like make up an average? I'm sure nothing's average, but like, well, how many in like a 1 by 1 square?
1 by 1 square. So 1 by 1 square. It's that's 1 foot times 1 foot, right?
Oh yeah, are we doing math? This isn't a podcast about math. Well, you don't have to do math. You can make up a number. No one's going to check. I promise.
No, it's that because that's a metric units, and that's American units.
There's a lot of these
different units. So 1 by 1, it could be a lot of. But again, there are a lot of pixel in here, and when we're doing pixel calculation, it's crazy. So yes. So now we go back to compression. Compression, it definitely make a difference, especially on the large screen when you're going outside. So that's one difference. And second difference is the fresh rate. Mm-hmm. Fresh rate is also could be very, very significant affected. So in the movie theater, you're going to see the movie, it's 24 frames per second. That's why the movie needs to be entirely dark and black, because then your eyes will catch up the difference in terms of frame by frame.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. But if you actually bring it on to the home theater where you have the brighter area or that, you need to bump up your fresh rate or your frame rate of your video. And then people are starting to try to save the bandwidth by using interlace. Have you heard about interlace?
It was like a feature. Was that a feature on like TVs a few years ago? And it was making the assumption of like what was going to happen between the frames or something.
Yes.
Again, so I swear I work at a tech company.
No, I mean, I hope
screen. I
hope I don't bore you guys, or I don't like.
No, this is for me. This is super interesting. So I'm sure there's someone else listening to this that's totally geeking out and has also done the math on how many of these watch battery pixel things, and they're like screaming it in the comments or something.
Interlaces says I have 2 frames. Okay, so I have 2 frames. And but instead of I'm trying to play both of a frame, I want to save on computer power. I want to save on my CPU. I want to save my storage. So I will merge those 2 frames together. How do I merge it? So if I take one single frame, say this is 1080p. 1080 of the picture. That's 1920 times 1080, right? Which means I have about 1080 of the raw of the line crossing the picture. So every odd number, I will keep it, an even number of the next frame, then I merge them together to become one single image. So that's interlace. So basically, you combine.
These are the things we just take for granted, by the way. We just expect this to happen magically. So
exactly. So it's basically you blend the image together, and the effect of that is when you play back some older content, you're gonna see like, oh, they are like line when you play back.
I think most commonly, Raf, we see it a lot of times with just pictures of digital billboards.
Yeah,
where it looks like it's still loading, or like, I don't know if anyone still remembers, watching a news clip in the early 2000s where they're like videoing an office and all the computers, it looks like the computers are all like wavy lined and all that.
That's a fresh rate. That's a little different, but that's a flash rate. And that's mean the fresh rate of your screen is lower than the fresh rate of your camera. So that's usually what caused that issue. But either way, that's how people save the bandwidth or that using the interlace. But then again, when we're back to 2007, people are playing back interlace video all the time. So we need to double a lot of material we receive. We need to be able to double up, because otherwise, when you play back in the outside of billboard, it's gonna look like interlace, and especially with lower frame of the content. Some people will send us 24 frames per second, and we'll say, "Oh, that's really low," because if when you're looking at it on your screen, you might not look so bad, but if you blow up to be
the side of a building,
side of the building,
might look like trash.
You're gonna look like the content is like.
It's going to look like an NFT today, which could be a valuable thing, and then you could make $1 bajillion off of it.
It's going to look really, really pixelated. So that's why we want to use the best content, to be able to play back on the best content. And still, not many people are doing that in Times Square, and not many people are doing that around the world. So eventually it's going to be like that. Like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when the 4K come out, people will start talking about why we're using 4K. Just HD, it's full HD is enough. And now people are talking about 8K, right?
It's never good enough. It's never good enough. Man. Listen, it's cool to talk about. It's cool to hear your perspective on, because like when we think about Times Square is like, it's what everyone thinks of when they think about out of home, and we can debate, some people would debate, both sides of that. Is that a good or a bad thing? But at the end of the day, it's like the Super Bowl, right? Times Square on New Year's Eve is the equivalent for out of home of Super Bowl halftime commercials.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's the biggest out of home opportunity that everybody in the world knows about and everybody looks forward to every single year. Yes. And that has a lingering effect where people just think about Times Square from and out of home, right? Like,
so it is very important that you need to, starting to lead in the technology in terms of like how quality need to be. Yeah. Because eventually people's eyes is going to enjoy this candy and enjoy this ice cream. And when they come back, like right now, if you ask me to go back to see 720 content, I'm going to say, wow, that's really pixelated. When right. People's eyes used to it and see how much of the content playback, but again, all we talk about in here are the basic of the basic, which is, it's really nothing more just video playing back. And this is just pure one way, which is passive way of getting the information. This is just one way of the communication, where on the billboard, they send it to you. Oh,
we've got some clips.
Okay.
You said it's just playing back video. So I queued up some clips here. I was kind of hoping that we could talk through some of them. This one was a lot of fun. The marriage proposal in Times Square. Talk to me about this.
Yes. So, obviously we want to do something different. We want to do something crazy in Times Square. So we starting to, to have those like new things. For example, this couple, they are, the girl doesn't know what's happening, and
it looks like there's a music video going on here. There's mascots, there's people dancing. Is this like a flash mob thing? Like it
is a flash mob.
What's going on here?
The pink mascot, and she's the one actually proposed to her girlfriend.
Yep.
And of course, no one know what is happening, and so So we was like, okay, let's do something crazy about it. And then we're starting to put the personal message into the billboard. And then, and she proposed in front of everybody and do this on the fly, when we put the camera down and we monitored everything. Of course, because there's always dangers doing any of the live feed, like camera feed, Not just saying about the timing, not just saying about the technology, but also we don't want someone crazy come in and take off their clothes and go naked and shows on the billboard, Yeah. So
no
we need to
pressure.
Exactly. So we need to make sure that the whole thing is moderated, and we want to put the proper delay of the content before we go live. And so we can purposely like cut it off when
if you have to.
If I have to, so even if I can reduce 1 second of the content on that, I would do that. And so with our system, we usually have a dual system running at the same time. We have a primary, we have a secondary, and we have a backup. So basically, yes. So basically,
why is that important? Like, how frequently do things fail? Like,
I mean, fail aside, that's why we have a backup, right?
Sure.
But beside the fail, but it's more about the functionality wise. Why do we need it? So a lot of time when we're doing something premiere, when we're doing something testing, we can't really show this to people outside. For example, we try to reveal a new movie trail. We try to, for example, if Disney, they have a new movie they want to go broadcast on the sign, and we need to test it, and we can't show that. Exactly.
I got this Harry Potter one up. Maybe we can talk through this. This is like the coolest thing. So I know there are a lot of Harry Potter fans out there in the world. Maybe you are one of them. If you are and you're listening to this on Apple or wherever you're enjoying the podcast, you got to go to the show notes and click on this link. You got to check out this video. It's super cool. This is like a whole Times Square takeover.
Yes,
it is Harry Potter. And like, right, it's Harry Potter. It's going to be a magical experience anyway. But this is mind blowing. And the number of people that are there. And you've got like one dry run for this. You've got one,
one
right?
time.
Like there's this isn't a month-long campaign that like, oh, hey, sorry, we trafficked the creative wrong. You got one shot to get it right.
Exactly. And then plus you can't really do rehearsal that much. And so so I was telling Tim that last time we're doing a rehearsal basically in 2 a.m. in the morning. And every time
who's there for the rehearsal? I'm guessing it's your team, like are there folks there from
the different billboard have different operator need to be on site and doing that, and then of course the director need to be there, and then we only got one shot, because we need to do this one in Monday or Tuesday midnight. So that's like a 2 a.m. in the Tuesday, least amount of people, and we can only do that one time because if we do it again, there's a chance people will take out their phone and start recording this.
And how are you like? Is there like one person per billboard? Is everyone watching like their piece of it? How are you possibly monitoring all of this?
Yeah, exactly. We need to do that, and everybody needs to basically, again, because this is so many billboard together. We need to have people to go on Times Square and say, okay, no, we need to adjust the timing on that one. No, the illumination on that one need to switch a little bit. So it was a lengthy process of doing all this, but it's a quiet experience.
And when you can pull something off like this for something that has such a cult following, like a global following that's so invested, like this is special. This is a really incredible experience, and you can only do that with out of home.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the exclamation point here is you can't do that with TV. You can't do it with radio. You can't do it with the newspaper.
Well, with the recent Omicron like coming out again, and I think this is another opportunity for digital out of home where people are expecting they're going to have an on-site campaign, they're going to have an on destination campaign or offline campaign, but because of Omicron, so a lot of things now need to cancel. So how can we still doing this kind of outdoor and still large event campaign? Yeah. I think Times Square now is going to be a perfect place, and digital out of home is going to be great because if you're doing outdoor campaign, doing it with the billboard interactive, exactly like you're saying, this is only the experience that not no other media that would be able to accomplish.
So how do people work with you? How do people work with Tiger Party? Obviously, there's lots of media owners. Like, are you a media owner? Like, how should folks think about Tiger Party and working with you?
To build a billboard or to do the things like that. The best way is to, when you starting to think about converting from canvas into a digital billboard, this is when we should get engaged, starting with. So my company, we do hardware design. We do like from the very beginning of the hardware LED design, and then we do the software playback of the content playback, content management system, interactive system, or a moderation system. And then
sorry for interrupting. Is this just for like big spectacular stuff in Times Square, or is this like also roadside digital, highway stuff? Where's your sweet spot?
Well, yes, our sweet spot is doing uniqueness. So we want to do a different shape. We want to do
the 9 curves. That's got to do the inner.
We want to do not necessarily 9 curves.
When Elon Musk talks about putting a billboard on Mars, he's going to use Tiger Party. That's what
I would like to do that. Yes, I would like to do that. I mean, it's going to be really hard. Yes.
We've got it. So here's a fun fact. This is a quick plug for some of the stuff that we're working on at One Screen. We have figured out there is a billboard. There's a billboard that is perfectly targeted to Elon Musk in Florida. That's currently like a local like gift store advertising it. So if you are trying to reach Elon Musk, we know exactly which billboard to be on and who owns it. So we could talk more about that.
Nice.
But exactly. So we're looking for the unique, we're looking for the
exactly
the extraordinary.
Yes. If you want to stand out, if you don't want to be standard 16:9 or standard like the gas station TV or the standard like coffee TV, then that will be our domain. We want to build customization. We want to build a different shape, and then we build experience on the top of it. Because to me, that's where the digital out of home stand. I mean, we had one of the campaign. We have one of the campaign, for example, with the breakfast company, and also with the we have a campaign with Applebee before. So what the Applebee will do is, they create a new burger, and instead of put their own name into the burger, they ask for people to, hey, what do you think is the name for the burger? So people go into their store and sit down and then scan their barcode and just tweet on their Twitter with their hashtag, say, hey, I think the name of this burger should be, I don't know, hungry, or should be happy, or something like that. And then the message and the photo and the name will be shown on the billboard. And then we'll take a picture and send it back to you and saying, hey, this is your burger's name on the billboard, and then send it back to you. Yeah, exactly. So people, we try to do this two-way interaction with the brand and the consumer. So people don't feel like, oh, this is just one way of digital out of home, and like should keep continue to, sell you things. Hey, buy this. We want to be more. Yeah.
When a brand comes to you and they say, hey, we want to do something that looks or feels like this, like what is that conversation like? Are there just is there a line of brands that are like, hey, I want to do some really cool stuff with digital out of home, or are you coming up with ideas? Like how do these things get born?
So usually it starts with agency. So agency, They were starting to have some new idea. They want to do something cool and nice. But I mean, to them, digital out of home or digital billboard is a new territory. It's a different territory. They want to know the capability of the billboard. Can the billboard integrate pulling the content dynamically from the social media? I mean, when we say pull content from social media, not just go fetch the API and then display on the site. No, we want to have a moderation process. We don't want whatever people put whatever they want to say on the billboard.
Sure.
Exactly.
Listen, it's like when you go to the airport and they've got that display case and they're like, you cannot bring a chainsaw on a plane. It's like the reason that there's a chainsaw in the case that says things you can't bring on a plane is because someone tried to bring a chainsaw on a plane. So exactly. I just have to assume that unmoderated social content being dynamically inserted onto a billboard has led to some disasters.
It is possible. That's why a lot of billboard, they don't want to have like those kind of interactive content because it imposes the risk. So it is important for the agency, they check with the billboard technical side of party of that and saying, hey, what kind of capability you have I mean,
so that's like one conversation, right? Is like the keep a bit, right? So, and that there's a translation that needs to take place, I'm sure, from the agency who's like, we want to create this Harry Potter experience, and the tech side being like, okay, what is it you're trying to do?
Exactly.
Right. Like that's step one, is let's just clear that up and see if we still understand each other afterwards.
Exactly. For example, like we did the New Year's countdown, and like countdown, like everybody, hey, countdown is just, clock counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, how hard it could be, right?
Sure. We've all done it in our backyard.
Totally. Yeah. But in reality is every machine has their own clock. And yes, we can always try to sync to the same network time server, but still different performance, different spec, and will still cause slightly delay. I mean, can you imagine when you're doing 10, 9, and then the billboard on the left is still in 9, and then the billboard on the right is already
there's a
8.
split second delay.
That's a split second of delay, and then the center one goes, so you have like 10, and then 9, and then 7 in here, and then all they flipping on the same time, and it's like, oh, how am I gonna do countdown in here? Because they are fraction of second, the split of second in there is probably 1/10 of second. But then visually you can already tell the difference and totally affect the effect of that.
Again, the things we take for granted. We just expect them to happen, right? Think about that. Think about that. If we were watching the New Year's Eve countdown and all of a sudden all the billboards have different numbers on them, like it would be pandemonium. It'd be chaos.
Yeah.
And we just expect it to all be right. But
yes, but I mean, this is split of a second, and some billboard they only handle 30 frames per second. Some billboard handle 60 frames per second, and some billboard only do 24 per second. So you need to account all of that, and so we need to use our technology WebSocket to basically. So instead of like everybody count down together, no, we don't do that. We do everybody 9, everybody 8, everybody 7, everybody 6. So instead of like, all right, let's count down from 10. I don't know, let's do like in 5 seconds and then count down from 10. No, we don't do that. We do like, all right, everybody display 10, everybody display 9, everybody display 8. So that's the only way to synchronize the content, just to, in case if someone tried to display quickly, we still have a chance to correct it, because every time it's initially again, okay, everybody display 9 now, 8 now, 7 now.
Right. We're running. It's the same. We run the same risks each time. We have to do this 10 times.
Yes, exactly.
Successfully.
Yes. Otherwise, the split of a second different, they would accumulate. Initially it's probably 20 microsecond and then 100 microsecond. Now we're talking about 500 microsecond. So eventually the distance might add up. So in the end, you might going to see 1 second different, and that sucks.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You don't get to do it over.
Yeah, you don't get to do it over. We are all doing live in here, so it's all like that. So yeah, so the scene like this is all depend. I mean, a lot of things really depend on what is the capability of the billboard. So that's why when we start a conversation with the agency, there was, okay, so what's your billboard can do? Like, are you confident enough that you can pull the live data? So when we say, oh yeah, people will probably just say, oh yeah, just display the the Twitter feed or the poll feed or that. Like we do election feed, like when we're doing the presidential election, we want to make sure those numbers doesn't come up or shows up until it is confirmed. So all issue of number, it's so critical. So, and we can't really, and when we're doing testing data, we can't show this to outside. We can't show this, our simulation dry run. You can't put those prediction number onto the billboard to test, because then people are going to freak out. Oh, what? There's already election result over there.
Your insurance company must love it. What do you get them for Christmas? Holy smokes. Everything that you do is walking the tightrope without a, I don't know.
So that's why you need to have a primary machine. You need to have a secondary machine. Then you have a backup machine. There was one time we have a director flying from LA, and about to land and come into the city. And I don't know if he's taking helicopter or what he do, but the moment he land and he say he's going to be after he land in JFK, he said, yep, I'm going to go be in Times Square in 15 minutes. I was like, how are you going to come to Times Square in 15 minutes from JFK? And the only thing I was like, okay, he's taking on the helicopter. That's the only way. So quickly just.
He's Tony Stark.
Yeah, and it's just like come in here and finish one camera shoot, and then he will be leaving. He doesn't have time to stay. He fly in, take the shot, and go and like ow immediately. So. And that time, one of the player, the power supply failed. Yes, and we have 15 minutes to figure it out. I mean, we don't even know the power supply failed. All we know is like all of a sudden playback, and all of a sudden it turned black and it's changing to a secondary player. And it was like, oh, what happened? Why all of a sudden switching to secondary? Because it's like pending fail situation. It's like, I'm about to die, but I haven't died. So the switch. So we don't know what happened. I was like, okay, firstly, we can't really have this content going outside. We have to, play evergreen on, and we need to troubleshoot this. We need to figure out this in 15 minutes, because with this director, he's not going to do a second take. He fly in, take a helicopter, and you're going to tell him that, can we do it again?
Yeah, bad news. Something's wrong. We don't know what. Bad news.
There's no such a chance. So we need to quickly like pull out the machine, open it up, and then we need to put out like years of experience into it and say, tell me, where is the problem? So usually we have like,
this is like a movie. Did you tell the director about it? He could have made this a movie.
Well, usually when we in
one
the
man, one mission, one billboard. Raf.
So usually
in a Tiger Party production.
Yeah, when we're in the rec room, we usually have like 2 or 3 people in together. But those 3 people, we only let 1 people try to fix the bomb. The other 2 people, their job is to answer the phone call. Yeah.
Smart to have 2 people on the phone call.
Yeah, 2 people on. So basically, we have 2 landlines in our control room, and everybody have their cell phone. So the one person, he would like put his cell phone aside, nothing aside, just focusing on the problem. The other 2 people will pick up the line and say, yes, we're working on this. No problem. Yes, we're doing this, all that. And because people start panicking, and
yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I totally understand.
So I was getting like a little bit of agita as you were describing it.
Yeah, it is.
You can imagine the pressure for like, right. This is the big leagues, right? Yeah. We're not playing around here.
Yeah. So when we're doing a national broadcasting, like New Year's Eve, and then the live show, when the camera pan from one billboard to another billboard, and then coming back, and during the panning, one of the billboard go dark, and by the time it panning back, we only have like 10 seconds to try to spin up the backup and try to cover that. Yeah, and we can't have when the camera go to that, and then what's supposed to be there for the advertisement, we can't have that to be black. So it's all pretty much no breaking for the entire 14 hours of countdown. Our countdown starts on noon at 12 o'clock, but it doesn't end until 1 a.m. in the morning.
Have you ever done the documentary of this? No. I'm so serious about this. I would watch. I think that there's a lot of people right now. If you're listening to this and you think that there should be a documentary made, we got to make that happen. That's like such a cool piece of content. Everybody sees it. Nobody knows what goes into it, and yeah. I think that would be awesome.
Like, I mean, the 2022 New Year's countdown that we just happened, and there's a lot of story in here. I don't know if I can say those things, but
like, when does planning start for the New Year's Eve countdown?
So, in November, where the previous mayor de Blasio said, "Yep, we're gonna have come back in full strength, and everybody gonna be like, we're gonna celebrate the New Year's, come back alive. We go through this." Mm-hmm. Then Omicron hit. Mm-hmm. So all the talent that we booked, we schedule, we have now changing, and it's now different. So the time is changing, everything. So usually we will have 3 months to prepare everything, not just talking about sponsorship, and the show and working with the Declar production and try to make this happen. We did not receive our timeline, or actually we didn't have our final timeline or the actual timeline until New Year's Eve on the same day, 11:30 a.m. in the morning. We don't know how we're going to play, how we don't know what time we're going to do the show.
Like, you just know, like, you've had no opportunity to see the game plan, to practice with the team.
Nothing.
It's just expected that, hey, Raf, we've got a game on Sunday. We just need you to show up and be the quarterback and have the best game of your life.
Yes, you have to get it done and make it happen because, so things going to change and everything dynamically changing on the fly. We don't know what talent is coming in. We don't know what time we're going to do the show. So everything. So for the entire 12 hours, we are on the conference bridge and we are on standby, on the call. And when things happen, like I said, one people fix the problem, the other two people try to answer the phone. Exactly. So that's our game plan. And that's how we're going to make things. And we've been doing this for the past 10 years, 10 plus years.
Wow.
Exactly. So yes, New Year's Eve, I wish one day, hopefully it will be this year, then I'll be drinking a beer, sit at home, watching TV.
Wish, but we just made plans. We're making a documentary. I'll see you there. Raf, how do folks get in touch with you? Where do they find Tiger Party? Give them the Latin long.
So the best way to find us is on our Instagram, and then or just go to our website, www.thetigerparty.com. So we want to do tigerparty.com, but unfortunately someone registered that like 15 years ago, so we have to do the THE, so thetigerparty.com. So
got the same problem. It's like I couldn't get OOH Insider. I had to get the OOH Insider. Someone already had it. I feel your pain, my friend. Hey, this has been an absolute blast, an absolute pleasure. I've learned just so much. This is going to be one for the ages. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. There's a lot of story, and thank you for letting me to share with you and everyone and all the audience.
Absolutely. If you found this to be helpful, if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with somebody who could benefit. And I guess, as always, we'll see y'all next time. That's it. That's the outro.
All right. Thank you.
Quarter century, I finally came to my senses. I finally got my hand up on the tinted Benz, kid. I see the world clear through my tinted lenses. With the dream and the drive, the possibilities endless. Now print that, send this all the way to Tokyo. Take a trip down south, down to Mexico. Next stop, Shanghai, the world-class trade show. First class all the way, cause that's how we roll. Yeah, call us the rock star businessman. Rockin' shows, we handle business, man. We got our own future in the palm of our hands, cause divided